sacrifice for our country. At healvets.org, you can find out more about the healing power of pen pals, volunteers, therapy kits, and more. Discover your healing power at healvets.org. Help Heal Veterans, together with you, has been helping one recovering veteran at a time. We are helping veterans heal together. What is your healing power? To find out about your power, visit healvets.org. This PSA is sponsored by Help Heal Veterans.
You know that you can listen to Chicago's Progressive Talk on WCPT AM 820. Stream us live at WCPT820.com and on the TuneIn Radio app. Or you can ask Alexa, Siri, or Google to play WCPT from TuneIn. But now you have another option. We're simulcasting our programming overnights. 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. on WSBC AM 1240 for a clearer reception in and around the city. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. And now overnights on WSBC 1240 AM, where facts matter.
They're pounding on the door. They're calling on the phone. They're threatening to close your business. If debt has your business on the brink, call Ray Reynolds, the godfather of credit. For over 40 years, Ray Reynolds has helped thousands of customers get millions in cash credit. It's no wonder why they call Ray the godfather of credit. He may even be able to raise your score above 750 before the end of the year. You could even get a new personal or business credit line up to $50,000 within days. If your credit needs a rebuild, call Ray Reynolds and receive a $1,000 cash credit card at closing. Raise your credit score to 750 or more. Call Ray Reynolds at 800-233-7933. 800-233-7933. Learn about Ray's secrets to success and how he can fix and improve your credit score to 750 or more. Call the godfather of credit rebuild, Ray Reynolds, at 800-233-7933. 800-233-7933.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
The following program, Collaboraction Radio, is sponsored by Collaboraction, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those of Heartland Signal, LLC, or its management.
Hey.
Come on, Linda Soul.
What's up, y'all?
Here we go. Chicago. The hot, windy city.
Real hot today.
Real hot. It's about to get a little bit hotter in here when Linda Soul gets on the microphone.
You know the vibes.
Oh, DJ Lady D. See, this is our theme song. One of these days, we're going to make a single.
Okay.
To this.
I think we need a whole album at this point.
Thank you. Hello, fellow humans, and welcome to Collaboration Radio. I'm back.
Welcome back.
We are here at the intersection, the six corners of art, activism, and social change. That was DJ Lady D, the queen of Chicago house music, also the board president of Collaboration Radio. Of Collaboration. Thanks for joining us here on WCPT 820 AM, Chicago's progressive talk radio. And we're also streaming live on Facebook at WCPT.com and the Collaboration YouTube channel. And then you can get us on demand in the very near future at Spotify and Apple Podcasts and anywhere else you get your digital vegetables. Collaboration is a 27-year-old nonprofit. Our mission is to build knowledge, empathy, dialogue, and action. We call that KIDA. It's kind of like a martial art for your heart, so you can defeat stupidness, evil, and lameness, bigotry, oppression of all forms. And that's what we do. We make powerful artistic experiences so that we can grow together towards one another into a house of belonging. And we do that with theater and film and radio and youth artivists and music and dance and storytelling. And we're going to be talking to a very special artivist today in the studio, Linda Soul.
Hello. What's up, people of the world?
What's up, people in the world? Collaboration Radio is sponsored by the Joseph and Bessie Feinberg Foundation, as well as AV Chicago, Chicago's leading provider of AV production and event management services, and Evoke, an internationally award-winning business events agency. Evoke is an experienced team of event architects, and they make great events. They sponsor our Utopian Ball, which will be November 2nd at the Venue West. I surely expect Linda will be there. Maybe we'll even get Henry there. Hi, Henry.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Did you miss me?
Yeah, it was crazy.
Liar. Liar.
Last night was very cool, but it's great to see you back.
You do a lot of shows, but this is like episode 53 or 54. We went on a family road trip to Nashville and Asheville, and then we went to Chapel Hill, and then we drove home through West Virginia.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really nice trip.
It was. In Nashville, went to the Grand Ole Opry, and I got my country on, you know?
Just seeing everything.
I ate a lot of brisket, and they have this thing called burnt edges brisket I didn't know about.
Ooh, that sounds good.
I'm hungry right now, so that sounds great.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm delighted to be back, and we have some news at Collaboration. Finally, we've been talking about this for a while, but this July 19th is our House of Belonging event at the Epiphany Center for the Arts, and we'll be featuring the Sandra Delgado Experience. Sandra, founding company member, Chicago cultural icon, also known as my wife. She fronts a 6-piece band, and she's doing all kinds of amazing salsa and cumbia songs. And she does a little storytelling and a little bit of hypnosis. It's really a beautiful thing, and it's kind of her birthday show. So come on out and get your tickets now before it sells out. And the Epiphany Center for the Arts, Linda, have you been there?
I have. I actually had a show there.
Oh, I think you told me that.
It's a beautiful space.
It is cool.
Yeah.
So in the big church in like 2009, Collaboration threw an epic part. It was a carnival. And we had a body painting thing going on, and this is when it was still a church, and like there were photos of like body painted people with barely any clothes on, like standing on the like the sarcophagus in the background. Is that how you say that word? Sarcophagus. There we go. And the altars, and like the reverend called me up and said, "You have to take those photos down."
Oh gosh.
I said, "Okay." But that was a long time ago. It's been totally remodeled, and it's an amazing spiritual music venue, and we'll be there Friday night. Come on out. And the Light, our youth group, of which Linda Soul is a big part of, a mentor, teaching artist, working with the Pinky Ring, also known as well, I was thinking, like, does anybody ever say Pinky Bling Ring?
I don't think they have before.
The Bling Ring crew?
That would be new.
Well, isn't that the Bling Ring, right? Weren't they the kids that were stealing stuff in L.A. from celebrities? So I guess that doesn't make sense, because Pinky only gives things.
Gives, doesn't take.
She gives a lot.
Okay.
And is she back from Denver Hip Hop Summit or whatever?
No, she's not back yet, but I believe she's on my live right now. So hello to Pinky.
Pinky! We miss you. Don't let Denver keep you.
Yeah, we miss you a lot.
Chicago needs Pinky Ring. So, and she hosted the show with the youth 2 weeks ago. It was a great show. Go listen to it, and learn a little bit about what's important to the young people in Chicago. But anyways, they just performed at Fresh Fest at Navy Pier. It was awesome.
It was so good. I mean, they stole the show that day.
They did. And they got their wings.
Yeah.
They jumped off the cliff and they flew. And now they're going to be touring the parks with the Chicago Park District's Night Out in the Parks, July 25th at Austin Town Hall on the west side, the 26th on the beach at Loyola Park and Rogers Park. Bring your beach stuff. And then Hamilton, the amazing Hamilton Park is the official name of that park. Have you been to Hamilton Park?
I haven't, actually.
It's really my favorite park in the city.
Where is it located?
It's in Englewood. It's like 72nd.
Okay.
And it's kind of near Yale, I think. Racine. It is awesome. It's a huge, beautiful cultural center. And one of these days we're going to throw a big concert there. Mark my words. But I've been going there for This will be the 11th year.
Wow.
Yeah, and I love the staff down there, so it would be great to see them and a lot of my friends down in Englewood. One of my favorite, if not the favorite neighborhood that has the lamest rap, because its rap is the dopest.
Okay.
And then we got Lavana Madrid at Millennium Park, August 23rd at the Pritzker Pavilion. And that's the show that the Sandra Delgado wrote and stars in and fronts a band, and it tells the story of a Latin salsa jazz club in the 60s in Lakeview. That was kind of like the Copacabana Club of Chicago, but it kind of got erased because it never got covered in the white newspapers. And Sandra heard a bunch of stories from her elders about this famous club where everybody would go, and Thursday was Cuban night, and Friday was Puerto Rican night, and Saturday was Colombian night. It was a refuge in the midst of the late 60s, which was a pretty racist time. Immigration was kicking the Puerto Ricans all around the city, and we had the riots, and we had a lot going on. But there was a club at Belmont and Sheffield where you can kind of get away for a night and listen to bands from your home country.
I love that.
And yeah, so you have to come see that August 23rd.
For sure.
It's had some big sold-out runs directed by Sherilyn Bruce and featuring an amazing team of designers. So we're doing Collaboration's producing that with Teatro Vista as part of the 20th anniversary of Millennium Park, which reminds me, oh my gosh, a week from tonight, I think Common is at Millennium Park, Pritzker Pavilion. Yeah.
Oh, wow. How did I not hear about that?
Free show.
I'll be there.
Yeah.
Whatever's going on that day, I won't be at. I will be seeing Common.
And then, yeah, Collaboration is building a new home of belonging in the Kimball Art Center in Humboldt Park. We're going to have a cabaret stage with a bar and a place where you just kind of want to chill and hang and unpack what you just experienced and life in 2024. That is what, I was working on some season planning the other day, and I was like, spring of 26?
Wow.
We are like so far beyond Back to the Future. We are it, and there will never be a younger version of us than we are right now.
I agree.
This is it. The time don't go back. So yeah, if you go to our website or our YouTube, you can see some content around our new space, and maybe throw us a few bones or a few thousand bones, or become a member for as little as $1 a month and get special access. And that's really going to pay off when we get the space. So without further ado, let's get into our shoe. And if you want to call in live to talk to Linda Soul, ask her a question,
please do.
Yeah, 773-763-WCPT. That's 773-763-9278. Linda is going to do a song for us, but before we do, let's get to know who she is. A Puerto Rican poet turned rapper hailing from the west side of Chicago, instigating social change through the transformative. From the final stages of slam festivals such as Louder Than a Bomb and Cupsy, to Poetry Magazine, to Lollapalooza 2020, Linda Soul is an artist that commands attention and instigates change. Her genre-fluid production, intricate flows, and lyrical precision carry listeners through the evolution of herself, emphasizing the complexities of life we all experience. From Chicago to Stanford University, her unique sound and captivating presence has led her to big stages. Still early in her career, Linda Soul has had the honor to open for 2 Chainz, Dreezy, Omar Apollo, Mariba, Duo Sale, Phony People, Jamila Woods, Queen Key, Glorilla, and Phoebe Bridgers.
Yes.
Wait till I tell my daughter about that. There is no limit when it comes to her influences, from classic hip-hop to 2000s R&B to reggaeton to indie rock. Linda Soul is a unique breath of fresh air with a story to tell. Her most recent EP, Growing Pains, is on all platforms now, as well as her popular summer anthems, Drinks on You and That Girl. Linda Soul just recently graduated from No Label Academy at Harvard University, a 10-day music business program led by rapper IDK. Since then, Linda Soul has evolved her approach to music and is working on her next project, Metamorphosis. Live here in the studio at Collaboration Radio, are we ready for a little bit of Linda Soul? Okay, WCPT, put your seatbelt on, put your windows down, and just take a break from reality and get rocked by Linda Soul.
Let's do it. I'm sorry, can we go to it?
Yeah, let's do it again.
It's a little low in my...
No, you could turn it up right over there.
Oh, okay. Y'all, I didn't get to brief with this. I was...
Oh, no.
So, and this is called Más. Para mi gente de Chicago and Humboldt Park. Luchando por paz, olvida cantar yo para la gente, para mi barrio, yo quiero más. Es necesario, chasing the future, one hell of a cardio. Yo no sé qué. Historia, the life present day. Tell me how long will we have to wait? I build a new table, one fix me a plate. Ay. La gente merece paz. Quiero más, ¿y dónde está? Yo quiero más por la gente merece paz. Quiero más, yeah, yeah. Quiero más arroz con doble tostón. More to my name, the house that I own. Building myself and I throw in the throne. Build a new table and all that I owe. So, all my your clothes. Only thing on me that is gonna fold. Me and my people don't do what we told. El nuevo mundo, I with the old. Tengo el mundo en mi plato. Respiro palabras de fuego. Aprendo de mi pasado. Lessons that we cannot let go. Vamos a ser mejor. Luchando por este amor like never before. Better respect the culture. We doing it for. We kicking in other closed doors. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Quiero paz y dónde está ya. Quiero más. Más vida para las latinas, ay, para todas mis primas, ay, es que mi escudo se estima, drinks up whenever we link up, somos boricuas, luchan con carisma, ay, unidad de la isla, ay, y Chicago la misma, know that you can't get between us, familiar es todo, chasing my blood through a photo, all of the stories are locos, spreading the chisme like mocos, quiero todo, no poco, para mí sino todos, para ti we'll go global, so, make sure the mic is on, las vidas negras en Puerto, what picket fence burn it long. Puerto Rico's not your pawn. Yeah, yeah. Quiero más, quiero paz. ¿Y dónde está ya? Quiero más, quiero paz. ¿Y dónde está ya? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Quiero más, quiero paz. ¿Y dónde está ya? Quiero más, quiero paz, ¿y dónde está ya? I hope y'all enjoying y'all Saturday so far. We just getting started though. I'm gonna need your help with this next part. Wherever you are, repeat after me. Say, yeah, yo quiero más. La gente merece paz. Say, yo quiero más. La gente merece paz. Dime, yo quiero más. La gente merece paz. Yo quiero más. La gente merece paz. Yo quiero más por la gente merece paz. Quiero más, quiero paz. ¿Y dónde está ya? Yo quiero más por la gente merece paz. Quiero más, quiero paz. ¿Y dónde está ya? Thank you, everybody, everywhere. Quiero más by yours truly, Linda Soul. Channeling our pinky ring.
So, Linda, where can people catch you again?
Oh, wow. You can catch me everywhere. I am outside, folks. But if you want to find me on social media, you can find me at _Linda Soul. That's _LINDASOL. And I have a few performances coming up. Looking forward to the From the Go Fest with the DuSable Museum on the 27th. That will be my next big show. I would love to see you guys there.
27th?
The 27th of August, yeah.
That's a Sunday?
Saturday.
What time?
I will be up on stage around 4:30.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and it's for all ages. It's at the DuSable Museum. They have food trucks. They're going to have dancers. It's going to be a whole thing. I went last year as an audience member, and I had a great time.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so talented.
Oh, a reflection of you.
Must be fun, huh? Having your whole career ahead of you.
You know, I do like to think that. Just getting started. Yeah.
And speaking of getting started, let's go back.
Let's do it.
To the beginning. To little Melinda.
Baby Melinda. Baby Linda Sol.
If you're a superhero whose powers are to instigate change, what is the origin story? How did you become this smart, fierce, talented, progressive, can I say? I can't say that. That has a swear word in it. Rap star.
Well, it all started, I think the story starts before me, as most of our stories do, right? My dad DJs house music. Just socially, just for fun. All of my parties growing up, he was the DJ. My mom is a writer. She was published in a book before, and I like to think that when I came out, they just lent that to me. By the time I was about 8 years old, I'm the baby of 4. And so my sister was in an after-school matters program during high school, and I was the little sister that had to tag along with her. So during the summertime, she was actually a part of the program Kumbaa Links. And I would join her and spend time there writing, rapping, beatboxing. I was like the group's beatboxer as a kid. And this is my first introduction to the arts. And from there, that was the seed that life continuously watered. I was in several programs, like guitar programs. I got familiar with electric and bass guitar, then school bands through high school, clarinet, bass clarinet, all the percussion instruments in the back, and all while I was really engaged with the poetry scene in Chicago. So while I was very musical, I was also very poetic, and I would spend all of my weeks at open mics, my summers in writing apprenticeship programs, and I did slam poetry in high school and in college. So at one point, they just morphed together, the music and the songwriting, and I look back at my poetry that I was writing at an early age, and I realized they were raps all along. And so it's cool to see the evolution and the full circle moments that's happened with my art. But it's been a long story, and it's still evolving. I'm still learning a lot about songwriting and music production and all the other things that I've left in the past. Like, I haven't wrote poetry in a long time. Although I write songs all the time, I haven't really wrote to a page or got up on stage and performed a poem in that way. And I find myself now more inclined to do those things. So a lot of my arts practices have been planted and then came back around at some point in time.
The daughter of a writer and a DJ. It all makes sense now.
Okay.
And when did you do your first rap or song?
My first song I ever made. It's funny because the first thing I ever wanted to be in life, they asked you that question as a kid. I wanted to be a singer. I would sing all the time as a kid. And it's crazy how impressionable we are, because there was somebody, I don't even remember who, told me I couldn't sing. And I stopped singing. And at this point, I got into poetry. I remained poetic. And I didn't write my first song again, rapping, until I was about 16, 17. I would start doing verses on stage. So really what happened was the poetic spaces I was in were very influenced by the MCs and music end of poetry and hip hop. And so after our open mics, there would be ciphers and people would be in circles rapping, and I wanted to do that. So I would go home and be like, okay, it's time for me to get my 16 bars on, because I just wanted to be in the circle. And eventually that turned into songs. So about 17.
And there's some really powerful spoken word pieces that you've done that are on YouTube.
Yeah.
They're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And very impactful. And and spoken word can do that if the artist is, willing and able to share themselves.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So was that right before you started? Was that around that time or a little bit before?
So that was around 2019 and 2020. And at that point, I was a freshman and sophomore at Stanford, and I was taking music more seriously.
And so let's talk about that a little bit. What was it like to go from a Chicago
West
Sider to Stanford?
It was quite the transition. As you would imagine, it was quite the transition. I didn't know anybody. There was not one person on campus I knew. And I had never left home before. No one in my family has left home before. And everyone from my home, my high school, my neighborhood, they were looking at me like, you made it. She made it, everyone. We're good. She made it up the hood, right? And I went there, and I had quite the interesting experience at Stanford, actually. I felt like my presence at Stanford, as my art is usually, was an intervention. I would ride around campus with my speakers, blaring Chicago rappers, drill music to Kanye, to all types of rap, and people had a problem with it. They didn't like to hear it. Imagine I'm like biking around Stanford's campus, people from all over the world, and out my speaker is Chief Keef and Ludfo and Young Pappy. They were not too happy about that, but a lot of that presence, I think, really characterized my time at Stanford. And there were some other things that happened that I would take up the whole radio show to tell, honestly. But just know, I've had my college scandals. I ended up in Fox News, CNN, Washington Post. They try to get your girl for things that I didn't do. And it became a whole political conversation, which I think generally looks back to what it looks like to be an intervention and be a catalyst to change. Which always was intertwined with my poetry and my music at Stanford. I spent most of my time performing. I was on stage, I was throwing shows, and somewhere in the time loop of the universe, I am still at a college dorm on stage, rapping in front of a huge crowd.
Wow. Why and how Stanford?
It's funny. And this might sound like, are you serious? No way, you're lying. I actually didn't really know what Stanford was until my senior year applying to college. So I always grew up top of my class. I was really, serious about my academics, and honestly, it was something that came naturally to me. I think education is an interesting thing. I heard a quote once that was like, you can look at a tree and ask a monkey and an elephant and a dog and a fish to climb it, and that's how we look at our education system, right? Of who does well in that realm. I think life is a university, right? But Stanford, for me, I actually heard a friend was applying next to me in class, in our college prep class. And I was like, oh, that looks cool. Let me apply. I was planning to go to U of I. I was planning to stay in Illinois because that was what I knew. I knew how to stay home, and I wanted to be close to family. And I applied, and I got in, and I went to visit. And I felt like out of all the schools I was applying to at this point, I was looking at Yale, I was looking at Northwestern. I felt like Stanford had the perfect balance of academics and a little bit of eccentric weirdness. Like Stanford's brand, their motto is to stay weird, and it resonated with me.
Well, you have that whole San Francisco kind of energy, and I hope they gave you a full ride.
Mostly. Yeah. If I was going off money, Yale was giving me the bucks. But Stanford was an experience that was, it was priceless. The people I got to meet, the classes I got to take, the things I got to learn, not only in class, but just being from the west side of Chicago. I had a very interesting experience because I studied urban studies, and the study of inner cities came with a lot of conversations around Chicago. So here I am from the west side of Chicago, uprooted in a Stanford class, watching my peers learn about Chicago gangs for the first time through college educational texts. So it was a really interesting juxtaposition happening with my studies in urban studies versus my experience living in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting time. It always is these days. It just gets more and more interesting. But summer of 24, Mayor Johnson has been around for about a year. Mm-hmm. And we're going into a very interesting presidential election. Mm-hmm. And our focus often gets taken to places that people want it to go. Mm-hmm. What are the things that are on your heart right now? What are the priority issues that you're, I always say an artist should make the work that they can rant about. That they know the most about, so what are the things that really are keeping you up at night or that make you inspired to get out of the house and go do stuff?
That's a good question. It builds off the conversations we're actually having today with the light at Collaboraction. We were talking about freedom and what that looks like and what art looks like as freedom and as intervention. I think a lot of what stays on my mind is actually the step back from all of the intricacies of these conversations. I agree. Sometimes we get caught up in the loop of what's going on in the world. Well, how do we discuss racism and capitalism and socialism and colonialism and all of the isms, right? And I like to always take a step back and think more metacognitively of what are the things that are impacting our thinking and in what ways are we. Even today, we had discussions around freedom, and some people were like, I was like, do you think you'll see freedom in your lifetime on a global scale, right? Because I think individual freedom is a bit different from global freedom. And on a global scale, everyone said no. I don't think we would see freedom in our lifetimes. And I thought that was interesting to discuss why. And I think when we look at why you may think that, it speaks to how deeply embedded these systems could be into our own bodies and into our own DNA and our own psyches, to the point that we can't even imagine a world that's free. We're so deep into it that we can't even imagine a world that's free in our lifetimes. And I think that's also intentional by a lot of these systems. I also focus on what keeps me up at night, especially with now working with the light and the luminaries. It's a full circle moment for me growing up in programs like this. And it's really special to now be in this position to be able to guide them and for them to teach me things in that process too. And something that I holds dear to me is that joy is so important. And a lot of the times when our young people are discussing these very heavy topics, we forget that how much of joy is stolen from us by carrying the weight of these topics, right? And so the poems that talk about love and the poems that talk about your family and the joy of them, I find myself up at night thinking of ways for young people to reclaim their joy, because I think that's resilience as well. And I also think that's rebellion, finding joy in the chaos. So those sorts of things right now, as well as my own artistry, working on my own music and what that looks like in the face of, there's a balance where you got to play the game a little bit, right, to get your foot in the door, but also reclaiming and reinventing what it looks like to be a mainstream artist. And how do you take the power of music, which is honestly a hypnotic thing. People repeat these lyrics, it gets stuck in your head. There's a lot that it does on the psyche level. How do you use that and take the responsibility of that and use it for social change in a way that's catchy, in a way that's memorable, in a way that's digestible, and also that's trendy? Finding the balance between all of that is really hard. So that's what keeps me up at night.
Well, you got me thinking about a lot of things, but metacognitive dissonance is one. And the other one is about the thought about freedom, which is that, I played the Gil Scott-Heron song, "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised," for my daughter on the road trip. And I said, what do you think he means by that? And she goes, well, that the revolution. What revolution? I said, that's right. The next one, right? The one that is coming, and the one for change, which is probably about equity. And then she said, well, okay, yeah. And I remembered, Gil Scott-Heron, do you know what he says, why the revolution will not be televised?
You'll have to tell me.
Because the revolution will happen in your head. It won't happen on the TV with a Coca-Cola commercial. It'll happen in our heads. Change starts within. And within, we can find freedom. And just look at how far meditation and mindfulness has come in the last 5 years,
Right.
really since the pandemic. And if we look at 10 years ago, we've grown so much. We've learned to understand things at a much finer level around systems of oppression and around how intersectionality can bring us all down. And if we all come together, there's nothing we can't do together. Change all of these systems. And a lot of our great leaders, were murdered right when they started talking about uniting the working class.
Oh, it's the scariest thing to those in power, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Right. Because the way this democratic system is rigged, if you have 51% of the votes, well, there's electoral college and all that. So if you have enough people power, there's nothing you can't do. Yet here we are.
Here we are, yeah.
Here we are, often hurting ourselves and each other and wondering, worrying about numbing ourselves more than we are about cultivating the internal revolution. And young artists like those in the light, 15, 16, 17-year-olds, and emerging incredible artists like yourself give me and those that have been carrying the torch a lot of hope, and it'll all be over in the blink of an eye. And so let's do what we can while we have the baton.
For sure.
The other thing I was thinking about was, the power of the great revolution musicians like Bob Marley, Fela. Fela's son is also performing at Millennium Park.
Oh, great. Oh, that's going to be a day.
Like on the 15th, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think it's his son. It's one of the Cooties. Who are the revolutionary musicians that get you fired up to go make your work?
Oh, I love that. I think first we'd have to define revolutionary. I think sometimes when we think of the context of social justice, again, we always think of the people who are outwardly voicing their thoughts on these issues. And I think of them as well as I think of those who are, again, reclaiming the space of experience and joy and those things that we lose in the conversation of social justice, because that act of existence is a resistance. And so with that, I'd say I grew up listening to a lot of Celia Cruz. I grew up listening to a lot of Plan B, La Reggaeton. When it comes to hip hop music, I grew up on Kendrick Lamar. That was somebody who I felt like was always speaking on not only himself, but the world, himself in the context of the world. And I think context is really important, which is one of our conversations we're having today. We start with our stories, but when we take a step back and a step back and a step back, we honestly could go to the global scales just starting with you. And I think Kendrick is somebody who addresses that well. I grew up, now I listen to a lot of JID, love JID, Missy Elliott. Who else? Gwendolyn Brooks, poet. Read a lot of Gwendolyn Brooks. Angela Davis, Maya Angelou. Those are just to name a few, but really, those are, I guess, more known names, but it was the mentors for me. It was the people who worked in positions, I guess, that we work now with young people who really influenced me at a young age. There's a house mover, dancer named Boogie McLaren. She was somebody who was the first person who introduced thoughts of freedom to me as an 8-year-old. And when you're 8 thinking about freedom, I don't think you always have the context to know what freedom, what the lack of freedom looks like, unless you're, raised in those households that have those conversations. And I was not particularly. And so she was the first person to introduce what freedom looks like in the body and in the mind, and what that looks like as an act of rebellion. And I didn't think at a young age, I don't think any of us realized that we were getting free. At our show, I kept saying, get free, get free, get free. And that comes from a long line of mentors and teaching artists that consistently reminded me what it looks like to take up your space and to reclaim your stories and to tell them on a grand stage. So those are just a few that influenced me. I feel like I'm constantly shaped and molded by artists out today, the world.
When you think about linguistics and words, you know, and how words sound and what they mean, free. It sounds like it's like a feather floating up. It's free. And have you had any moments working with the Light where you are talking to them and you feel like you're on the other side of the same deja vu from the other side? Like when our daughter was born, and still to this day, I'll have these moments where I see my hands like touching her, holding her, wiping ketchup off her face, and I'll be like, I have deja vu from the other side.
Yeah, life is so circular. It's so interesting in that way. I felt that a lot today, you know, since it was just me in the room and we were tackling these huge topics like colonialism and freedom and intersectionality and the scale from individual to global. Like these are things that I spent my entirety at Stanford discussing. And here we are in a 3-hour session taking a crack at it. And I felt that full circle moment today because really my goal was for them to get a new idea of what freedom looks like for them and then scale it all the way up to a global level. And with that, not only as freedom fighters, which I think is the more active discussion of these topics, but also as like people who, again, reclaim their joy and reclaim their stories. And I think a lot of times right now, our students think of social justice programs. What can I write about that pertains to social justice? But also your story is social justice. Your story as it is, your peace, your joy is social justice. So I felt that today because I remember when I was young and so passionate about the world and so passionate about all these themes and topics where my mentors were almost like shaking me like, yes, 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 yes. Of course, write the poems and songs about that. But also, who are you? And what's your joy? And where does your story come into play? And how then does it connect? So I felt like today that was that for me. And also at Fresh Fest, watching them on the stage, watching them get the jitters out and me hosting them, I was the one who was being brought on stage by one of my teaching artists, be hosting me. So lots of full circle moments. And the funny thing is, I started off this year and I wrote in my journal, I'm a big journaler, I wrote that I wanted to be a teaching artist. And I wrote, I don't know how, I don't know where it's going to come from, and here we are. So Sandra, who we've talked about, our lead teaching artist informed me that they had a promotion and were no longer available for the summer program. And so, and they're still on the team and very grateful to have them. But I was like, what are we going to do? You know? And Sandra saw a post from Pinky Ring. And Pinky was like saying, hey, I'm looking for a couple of new things this summer. You know, I love working with the youth. And so I reached out to Pinky. And then tell me about how the simple interaction of you guys connecting around that. So Pinky reached out to me asking if I would be interested in this opportunity.
Well, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let's go back a little bit because you just told me about when you first met Pinky. Yeah, that's
another full circle moment. So when I first met Pinky Ring, I was in high school and I was hosting an event that was a spinoff of Louder Than a Bomb, which is now known as Rooted in Radical, one of the longest youth poetry slams in the city and in the world. And so I was hosting this event, Louder Than a Bomba, and Pinky was our featured artist. And so I'd never heard her before. I've never heard her perform. And at this point, I was starting to experiment with rap. But I've never really seen a woman take the stage in that light. And so I introduced her and she came on stage and rapped, and she had a person playing the harmonica. And it was the coolest thing I ever seen. Like, my 16-year-old mind was blown. It was blown. And I have it in my Snapchat memories, recording her and saying, like, I'm her biggest fan and all these things. So years later, I go to college, I come back to Chicago. We're familiar on social media and we start to bump into each other in art spaces as performers. And there were a couple of conferences and panels she was speaking on that I was either performing at or a guest at. And we just slowly started to get in tune with each other. What she didn't know, though, by the time she reached out to me, she didn't know that I already had teaching artist experience. That was something she was having to gauge and kind of guess around. And she didn't know, like, we were kind of coming from opposite ends to meet each other. You know, I'm over here trying to get in that spot, and she was looking for somebody to do it without even knowing that that person, you know, that I do that. So it was amazing how it came all about. And I actually got that Snapchat memory not too long ago, maybe in the past month. And I was like, wow, it's crazy how a simple connection like that can lead into something like this, where we're working so closely now with Collaboraction. And it's been so good. It's been so good. And I feel so blessed and honored that she reached out to me to take up that position. I feel like it speaks a lot to energy, right? Like when we come into these spaces, sometimes you don't have the opportunity to introduce yourself and represent what you do and who you are. But one thing that Pinky and I always connected on was our love for art and our passion about the impact of our art and how it affects our communities, how it affects our young people, and what it means going forward. So I think just that general conversation and passion for that conversation led her to then pull me back up into this. So
you two are such a great team, and it just seems like you're destined to, like, you know, rock out together.
I love it.
And something that I've been thinking about a lot and trying to work and cultivate and lift up as much as I can is the concept of intuition. Intuition is one of the most underrated senses, you know, the sixth sense. It's real, folks.
100%.
When you have a little feeling, like, I would even say that I would guess that when you saw Pinky on the stage for the first time, you had a little intuitive tickle that said, you know, I want to work with her. But really what was probably being said was, I think I will work with her one day. And you talk about manifesting, but it goes before manifesting, because manifesting is more of a conscious thing, where intuition comes from the subconscious.
The all-knowing.
And we have to tap in to our subconscious, especially when it bubbles up. And so, you know, I'm at my best when I'm, like, really following the glowing light, you know, when I'm like, you know what? I don't know why I'm here today, but I'm going to put up my antenna, and before I leave, there's a reason, and I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
And so there's no such thing as coincidences. Now, I was a finance major from Notre Dame.
Wow.
We have a lot of football games against Stanford. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, so...
Finance, huh?
I mean, I had so much student loan debt. I'm like, I'm going to have to figure out how to deal with this.
That's too funny.
And, I mean, I wanted to be an actor. And I was like, I didn't think it was practical. I didn't think I was an artist. I was like a 6-sport athlete, all state in golf.
Wow.
And I used to watch playing baseball. I remember I'd watch the kids go to rehearsal at Music Man, you know, the musical. And I'd be like, I wish I could be in a play. Too bad I'm a jock. I'm an athlete. I can't do that, you know.
That's hilarious.
I can't draw pretty pictures, so I'm not an artist. And then, you know, I did what I did in high school. I was senior class president. I got into Notre Dame. My high school was a mini Notre Dame. It was a little Catholic school.
Wow.
And in Connecticut, I grew up in Deerfield and Highland Park. My dad was a golf pro at Highland Park. My dad is also a Vietnam veteran. So I consider myself a secondary PTSD survivor because of all the people my father killed and how those ghosts have impacted his life and my life. And then he turned into a golf pro. And then he passed away at 55 after a really brutal fight with cancer. I made a play about that called This Is Not a Cure for Cancer. It was a dramedy. But I ended up at Notre Dame, and I got out of school. I was doing marketing and sales for the Chicago Bulls during the NBA lockout, and Jordan came back from baseball, and they signed Dennis Rodman. I didn't get to go to any Bulls games while I worked there. And then I read too much Deepak Chopra and the book called Celestine Prophecies. Have you heard of this?
No, I haven't.
It's corny, but it's powerful.
Okay.
And what it's about is that there are no such things as a coincidence. A coincidence is the universe yelling at you to pay attention, to be aware, to follow the voice inside of your head that shouldn't have to yell so loud to get you to say, you know what? I'm going to go to that party by myself, even though I know nobody.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I should. And anyways, we're running out of time. We have a few minutes left. First of all, I want to put you on the spot and see if you have any other spoken word pieces you might be able to take us out with, or if you want to just freestyle. I can really, you could be like, I didn't know I was going to freestyle today, Sway. And I'd be like, what are you thinking? Have you seen when LL Cool J freestyled with on Sway?
I haven't. I'll have to go watch it because I love
see
LL
it.
Cool
Oh my
J.
God, it's so good. Or is there any a story you want to tell, or what do you want to share with with our last 3-4 minutes here?
I could do a little acapella moment.
Yes.
Yeah, why not?
Yes. Okay.
I think it pertains to our conversation.
Does it have a title?
We'll call it If I Could. If I Could.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And before we do that, Henry, how much time do we have left?
We got like 5 minutes.
We got like 5 minutes. How long is the piece?
Probably like a minute and a half.
Oh, perfect. Okay. So if you could whisper something into the ear of the 8-year-old, what would it be?
Trust yourself. Just trust yourself and lean into anything that excites you. Follow excitement, joy, and peace as a moral compass in life. And it'll lead you to all the right places. Yeah.
Where do you think you're going to be in 30 years?
In 30? Hopefully looking back at this like, you did it, girl.
The thing that I learned to do that is a great exercise for anybody is close your eyes and imagine your 80th birthday party. Who's there? And when the mic goes around, what do they say? And you just you visualize that specifically. You pass the mic and you just listen to what your mind tells you that your brother, your sister, your unmet friends and spouse and partners will say, and then you live your life as if that is going to happen.
Wow.
You don't know how you're going to get there, but if you live to be 80, there's going to be a party. And you know what? If you stay out of your own way, most of those things will actually be said.
Yeah.
And if you live your life like, I'm just working backwards in time from there, and I don't know how I'm going to get there, but it'll be, and it takes a while, They say it takes 7 years of cold calls before you don't have to knock on anybody's door.
Love that.
And that's in every business. Dentist, stockbroker, artist.
Yeah.
So you can't move to LA for a year, folks. You got to move for 7. Okay.
That.
So a little acapella from the Linda Soul.
Last thing I'll say before I jump in. Another thing I would tell my 8-year-old self is that the ending is none of my business. And that's for art. That's for life. That's for every vision you have for yourself. The ending is none of my business. Just get started. And with that, if I could, I probably would get my fam up out the hood, put them where it's understood. We grub and know we all that good. I need the money, I should get up, I should. Put that talk in my pocket, it's to the glass in the wood. I ain't the best at saving funds in situations. Half the time I'm stuck, my mind and body are debating. Find me in the middle, split Cartesians when it's raining. A trip to the Malayans through our imagination. We can get away, I know the daily is so draining. Escape the situation through a door in my brain. Might be locked in a box, but my emotions are tamed. Must the reality fake? We all just actors in play. So let's just play along for a minute. We can think about it when we finished. We can get away. Find some peace all up in your face. And you can spill the spaces in my ways for the day. What you say? Linda Soul, thank you for having me so much.
Wow. Yeah, you just had that in your pocket. I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it.
Stay ready, don't gotta get ready.
Thank you so much for joining us and for bringing your light to the light and to the Chicago.
Happy to.
And, Yeah, stay tuned, everybody. Linda's going to be doing a lot of amazing things, and you'll be like, I heard her on Collaboration Radio.
Won't be the last time I'm on the radio, that's for sure.
That's right. We're already setting it up for her to help take over this whole show so I can drive to other cities with my family. And, we have some exciting plans here in year 2 of Collaboration Radio. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for our sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor, get an ad, or even submit a PSA, email radio@collaboraction.org. And it's the outro.
Bye-bye, folks.
Oh, come on. We got a freestyle on this.
Hey.
Here we go.
Yeah, I'm chilling at the light. Cause my future is so bright.
Bright.
Got that fight or flight. But you know I'm about to fly, going real high, cause I'm chasing my dreams. Everything ain't really what it seems.
Get free!
Baby, we gon' get free.
Get
and you
free.
know that I could do anything, cause
Told you
my
so.
name is Linda Soul.
Linda
And I got
Soul.
some goals, and I'm going to the top. Yeah, you know, I'm from Chicago, baby, from that west side. And my parents from the 80s, the 60s, and all that other, I don't know. I'm just talking off the brain. Said I got the drip like the drain. And I'm going insane.
Now you know Chicago.
The preceding program, Collaboraction Radio, was sponsored by Collaboraction, and to the extent applicable, their guests. The views and opinions expressed therein do not necessarily reflect those